We are a species obsessed with our own permanence. We look at the horizon and see not just a landscape, but a canvas for our ego. 2 millennia ago, the architects of the Mediterranean didn't just build structures, they built statements, arguments in stone and bronze, intended to prove that man was the equal of the gods. They called them the wonders of the world. But history is not a museum. It is a graveyard, and most of what we celebrate as the pinnacle of human achievement is now nothing more than dust, underwater rubble, or the foundation for an ordinary apartment complex. The tragedy of the Seven Wonders is not that they fell. The tragedy is that we were surprised they did. We poured decades of labor, thousands of tons of rare marble, and the literal lifeblood of empires into objects that were, by design, temporary. We ignored the physics of decay in favor of the aesthetics of power. Before we dive deeper into the mechanics of this architectural arrogance, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It helps ensure that these stories of our past aren't lost to the algorithm, just as the monuments were lost to time. Let us look at the island of Rhodes. In 305 BC, a general named Demetrius the Besieger brought a fleet and a machine called the Helepolis, the taker of cities. It was a 9-story, ironclad tower of death. When the siege failed and Demetrius retreated, he left his machines behind. The people of Rhodes saw this debris not as scrap, but as a resource for vanity. They sold the weapons of war and hired the sculptor Chares to build a tribute to the sun god Helios. Chares fell into the classic trap of the ambitious. He underestimated the math. When the citizens asked him to double the height of the statue from 18 to 33 meters, he agreed, not realizing that doubling the height requires 8 times the materials. For 12 years, a giant earth mound grew around the harbor as the bronze giant rose within it. When the earth was finally cleared, the Colossus stood. 33 meters of gleaming bronze over a skeleton of iron and stone. It was a beacon that could be seen for miles. It lasted exactly 54 years. In 226 BC, the earth shook. The internal iron braces, the very bones of the god, snapped at the knees. The Colossus did not just fall, it shattered. It lay in the dirt for 8 centuries, a massive broken toy that even Pliny the Elder marveled at, noting that few men could wrap their arms around its thumb. The final insult came in 653 AD, when an Arab army saw the ruins not as a wonder, but as inventory. They cut the bronze into pieces and hauled it away on 900 camels. The god of the sun was likely melted down into coins or weapons of war, literally turning a monument to peace back into the tools of destruction. Today, where the Colossus once loomed, there are only 2 small pillars with statues of deer. Nothing remains. Not a single fragment of the bronze exists to be studied. It is a ghost. If the Colossus was a monument to a single moment of triumph, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was an attempt to industrialize the horizon. Built around 285 BC on the island of Pharos, it was the first structure of its kind, a functional titan. Its architect, Sostratus of Cnidus, was allegedly forbidden from claiming his work, as all glory was reserved for King Ptolemy. But Sostratus was a man of foresight. He carved his name into the stone, covered it with plaster, and wrote the king's name on top. He knew that the wind and the salt of the Mediterranean would eventually strip away the facade of power, leaving only the truth of the Creator. Standing over 120 meters tall, it was one of the tallest man-made objects on Earth for centuries. It was a three-tiered masterclass in geometry: a square base for housing, an octagonal middle for aesthetics, and a cylindrical top where the fire burned.
The Greeks didn't just build a bonfire. They built an optical engine. Using massive, polished bronze mirrors, they focused light into a beam that could pierce the darkness for 50 kilometers. But even the most advanced engineering is a hostage to the tectonic plates. The pharaohs survived empires, the Ptolemies, the Romans, the Arabs, but it could not survive the earth itself. A series of earthquakes beginning in 796 AD slowly decapitated the giant. By the 14th century, it was a shapeless pile of granite and marble. In 1480, Sultan Qaitbay used the ruins as a quarry to build a fortress, literally recycling a wonder of the world into a defensive wall. Today, the lighthouse doesn't stand against the sky. It lies on the ocean floor, where divers find 70-ton blocks resting in the silt, a silent reminder that even the brightest light eventually flickers out. Then we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the only wonder that might have been a collective hallucination. The story says Nebuchadnezzar II built them in the 6th century BC for his wife Amadis, who missed the green mountains of her homeland while trapped in the flat, dusty heat of Mesopotamia. Technically, it was an impossibility. To keep a 4-story mountain of greenery alive in a desert required a constant, massive infusion of water from the Euphrates, lifted through internal pipes by slaves turning giant wheels. It was the world's first large-scale irrigation system, a technological rebellion against the climate. Yet, the materials were its undoing. Unlike the stone pyramids of Egypt, Babylon was a city of clay and sun-dried brick. Once the irrigation stopped after the death of Alexander the Great, the gardens didn't just die, they dissolved. Roots rotted, the soil washed away in floods, and the mud bricks returned to the earth from which they came. Archaeologists have spent centuries digging through the Iraqi sands, looking for a trace of this paradise. Some suggest it wasn't even in Babylon, but in Nineveh. Regardless of its location, the lesson is the same. You can try to manufacture a paradise, but nature is a patient landlord. As soon as the maintenance stops, the jungle, or the desert, reclaims its territory. The gardens are now just a legend of love and a warning about the fragility of artificial ecosystems. The architecture of vanity and vandalism. If we are to talk about the intersection of human ego and material reality, we must look at the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. This wasn't just a building, it was a financial hub and a fortress of marble. But the architects, Chersiphron and Metagenes, were smarter than most. They knew the region was a tectonic nightmare. Their solution? They didn't build on rock, they built in a swamp. They reasoned that the soft, marshy ground would act as a natural shock absorber, a literal marsh cushion to dampen the tremors of the earth. To make it work, they dug a massive pit and filled it with layers of charcoal and sheep's wool to create a stable foundation. It was a brilliant piece of engineering that outsmarted nature, but it couldn't outsmart human pathology. In 356 BC, a man named Herostratus decided that since he couldn't create anything beautiful, he would achieve immortality by destroying it. He burned the temple to the ground. The citizens of Ephesus tried to erase his name from history, a damnatio memoriae, but their very attempt to forget him ensured he would be remembered as the patron saint of Vandals. The temple was rebuilt even larger, lasting centuries until the rise of a new world order. In 263 AD, the Goths looted it. Later, in 391 AD,
The Emperor Theodosius I closed it permanently in his crusade against paganism. The ultimate fate of this wonder was not a dramatic collapse, but a slow, bureaucratic cannibalization. Its marble was shipped to Constantinople to build the Hagia Sophia, and its remaining columns were ground down into common lime.
Today, a single lonely column stands in a stagnant pond, a perch for storks. Then there is the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the ultimate monument to the refusal to accept death. When the ruler Mausolus died in 353 BC, his widow, Artemisia, spent a fortune to build a tomb that combined Greek, Egyptian, and Lycian styles. It was a 45-meter-tall fortress of grief, topped with a massive marble chariot. It was so unique that we still use his name, Mausoleum, to describe any grand tomb. This structure was surprisingly resilient, standing for over 1,000 years. It survived Alexander the Great and the fall of Rome, only to be brought down by a series of earthquakes in the 13th century. But the final blow was dealt by the Knights of St. John in 1404. Faced with the threat of Turkish invasion, the Crusaders didn't see a wonder of the world. They saw a pre-cut stone quarry. They dismantled the ruins of the tomb to reinforce their own fortress, effectively burying the ancient world's greatest funerary monument inside the walls of a medieval castle. It is a recurring theme in our history. We build for eternity, only to have the next generation use our masterpieces as scrap metal or bricks for their own immediate survival. We are not building monuments. We are just leaving organized piles of resources for our successors. Finally, we step inside. Most wonders challenge the sky, but the statue of Zeus at Olympia was a titan held captive within 4 walls. Completed in 435 BC by the master sculptor Phidias, it was designed to be the physical manifestation of divinity itself. Zeus sat upon a throne of cedar, meticulously inlaid with gold, ebony, and precious stones. At 15 meters tall, the scale was intentionally unsettling. If the god had attempted to stand, he would have literally unroofed the temple. Phidias utilized the chryselephantine technique, a wooden skeleton draped in polished plates of ivory for the skin and hammered gold for the robes. The god's eyes were massive, glowing jewels, and he held a golden figure of Nike in his right hand. To prevent the ivory from cracking in the humid climate, the statue required constant maintenance. A special pool of olive oil was kept at the base of the throne, serving as both a preservative and a mirror that cast a haunting, ethereal light upward onto the god's face. For 8 centuries, this was the spiritual anchor of the ancient world. Even the Roman Emperor Caligula, in his madness, failed to claim it. Legend says that when his workers approached to remove the statue, it erupted in such a terrifying burst of laughter that the scaffolding collapsed and the men fled in horror. But where madness failed, a change in the world order succeeded. In 391 AD, Theodosius I outlawed the Olympic Games, and the temple was abandoned to looters. The statue was eventually moved to a private collection in Constantinople around 416 AD. Its end was not a collapse, but a total thermal death. In 475 AD, a massive fire swept through the city, consuming the palace where Zeus stood. The wooden frame ignited instantly, the gold melted into the ash, and the ivory plates disintegrated into dust. 6 of these wonders are now ghosts, lost to earthquakes, fires, or the sheer greed of those who saw them as mere building materials. Only one remains, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its survival is not a miracle of luck, but a victory of physics. It survived because of its absolute simplicity and its overwhelming mass of stone, a weight that cannot be burned and is too immense to be easily dismantled. This is the cold truth of our legacy. We build for the sake of our own memory,
Yet we are the primary agents of our own forgetting. We create masterpieces of complexity, gardens in the air, giants of bronze, gods of gold, only to watch them fail under the weight of time and human instability.
The history of the Seven Wonders is a chronicle of how nature and human madness systematically wipe the slate clean. Today, we are left staring at empty pedestals and silt-covered stones, trying to reconstruct the feeling of a world that believed its creations were eternal. If you have followed this journey through the ruins of our greatest ambitions, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It is a simple act, but it ensures that these stories of human struggle and architectural defiance continue to reach those who value the truth of our past. Thank you for your time.